shovel enough or dig enough snow out so that the tow truck can get in. And if you can't get the tow truck in, you can't get the car out, and you can't plow. Why that was different this time, we're not sure. We'll do the post-mortem afterwards. In the meantime, what we're trying to do is to get the resources that will let us get them out. The police department provided 70 tow trucks and even drove out to the tow truck drivers' homes to bring them in so that they could help, and that has made an enormous difference. To gauge the progress of efforts on some of the smaller residential streets, we did ask dozens of city employees in all 5 boroughs about road conditions in their neighborhood this morning. It's not exactly the broadest sample, but it was something we could do quickly and easily, and I thought interesting. And here are just a few examples which I think represent a small fraction of the hard work that our men and women in the Department of Sanitation have been doing. I can report that here in the Bronx, Bowler Avenue in Baychester was plowed for the first time yesterday, and 238th Street in Riverdale was cleaned up as well. In Queens, our survey showed 76th Street, a side road in Howard Beach, was plowed for the first time early this morning. In Belrose, streets near Jericho Turnpike were also cleaned up overnight, and 150th Street and 12th Avenue in Whitestone have been plowed several times in the last 24 hours. In Brooklyn, a borough where we have seen perhaps the most serious problems, Pine Street in Fort Greene, which has been very sloppy last night, was down to blacktop as of this morning, and also plows were out on Halsey Street in Bushwick at 9 p.m. last night and again today at 6 a.m. 64th Street between 18th and 19th Avenues in Bensonhurst was plowed for the first time late last night, and at 9:30 this morning a plow cleared Jefferson Avenue at Stuyvesant Ave in Bed-Stuy for the first time. Previous attempts to clear the block were not successful, but thanks to a heavy-duty plow, it is now open. Turning to the southern tip of Long Island near the Outer Bridge, plows have been down Sharrett's Road before yesterday, and not until this morning was the roadway fully cleared. However, Memo Street in the Princess Bay section of Staten Island still has not been plowed, and we've got to get to that. And even where streets have been plowed, such as in Eltingville, there are areas where the streets are down to 1 lane of traffic, and today we'll keep working to widen those streets. We also know that Eltingville has other problems too, particularly on the north side of Richmond Avenue. The good news is that beginning today, we will concentrate more and more equipment on the residential areas where the problems remain, and will not rest until every street in this city is clear, as it should be. And to aid us in that effort, street cleaning rules and meter regulations, as you would expect, will be suspended for tomorrow. Now, we had hoped that our city might make it through the blizzard without any major tragedies, but sadly I have to report that was not the case. Medical emergencies are always scary, and a blizzard added another layer of difficulty and danger. In some cases, it took hours to respond to serious requests, and EMS couldn't get there quickly enough. And my heart really does go out to those who experienced trauma and tragedy during the storm. We take our emergency life-saving responsibilities very seriously, and I'm extremely dissatisfied with the way our emergency response systems performed. And as I announced yesterday, we're going to take a look at everything we did to see if it could be done better, starting with the communications and dispatching system. We've asked Skip Funk, the leading expert on emergency communication in the city, and now our new director of citywide emergency communications, to look at how and why the emergency system became overwhelmed. We do know that on Monday we received 49,478 calls to 911. That is the 6th largest volume in 911 history, and it seems these calls overwhelm the system. As of right now, there are 0 stuck police cars, and the 911 backlog, I'm happy to say, is gone. Now, obviously no emergency system is ever perfect, but New York does have the finest first responders in the world, and we just have to make sure that our communications and response system can keep up with them and give them the information that they need. That's a top priority for us going forward. Before we take questions, and we have our commissioners here to answer anything you want to know, let me try to summarize what we said for our Spanish-speaking audience. En las últimas 24 horas hemos progresado con la limpieza. Hasta ahora, el 99% de las calles principales se han limpiado. Un 86% de las calles secundarias están limpiadas, y un 66% de las calles más pequeñas se han limpiado. Ayer contratamos 600 trabajadores y hoy vamos a encontrar un otro 1000. Estamos enfocados en áreas de los condados que fueron más afectados por la tormenta. No vamos a parar hasta que todas las calles de nuestra ciudad están limpiadas, and that we'll be happy to take some questions if anybody has any. Yes, Miss.
Mr. Mayor, how do you feel about the perception among some of the outer boroughs that you just don't care about people there?
You know, I care about all parts of the city. I've tried to visit all parts over the while I've been in office. The truth of the matter is, in some cases, the topography makes cleaning streets harder. That's certainly the case. In parts of Staten Island, we have small, winding streets. In some cases, it's just harder to get equipment there, or the winds are different, and the amount of snow is different. We have tried to allocate the resources around the city based on the needs. We focus on the primary roads first. That's how people get in and out of the city and where the major amount of the emergency response vehicles have to travel. Then we go to the secondary roads, and then we go to the tertiary roads. There are very few tertiary roads in dense areas and lots of tertiary roads in the less sparsely populated areas. So it's just a fact of life that for the less sparsely populated areas, it is going to take longer. It isn't that we don't care. It's just that you have to do as much good as you can with the resources you have. I think what is clear here is we had the same plan with the same equipment and the same well-trained and managed staff that we had every other time, and it worked better the other times. And the question is, why did it not work as well this time? And the time to really worry about that is after we finish getting every street open, and that's what we'll do. We've asked Scott Funk to start already on the communication side, but we want all of our snowplow operators out there plowing and not answering questions today. We'll get to those questions. It may be that the winds were different, that the amount of snow was different. It may be that because of the Christmas weekend, an awful lot of people tried to get home on Sunday night and got stuck. And what is clearly different is an enormously larger number of stuck buses and cars and trucks throughout the city, which made the cleanup so much more difficult. If you didn't have that, we wouldn't be having the press conference today. But it was perhaps that, perhaps it was something else, sir.